Welcome to the PronSIG podcast. PronSIG, the IATEFL Pronunciation Special Interest Group, has been at the forefront of pronunciation teaching, both in theory and in practice, since 1986. We support teachers around the world in developing their knowledge and confidence in pronunciation pedagogy and fill the gap often left by a lack of teacher training through a wide range of online and face-to-face events, including workshops, conferences, webinars, and book clubs, and publications such as our biannual journal Speak Out and our monthly blog. In this podcast, we interview key figures in PronSIG history and the wider pronunciation field to provide our listeners the chance to get to know the interviewees and their careers a little bit more personally in this podcast format. I'm your host, Mike Budden from Australia, and I'm an English teacher and German teacher and teacher trainer based in Berlin in Germany. Now, this is a special episode of the podcast. And in preparation for it, I had the pleasure of chatting to a number of different people at the IATEFL conference from all over the world who presented or had some interesting ideas to share around the topic of pronunciation. The 2026 IATEFL conference took place in April in Brighton in the UK from Tuesday the 21st to Friday the 24th, with an extra pre-conference event day on the 20th of April. The pre-conference events are put on by the various special interest groups, and delegates can choose to attend one of these pre-conference events in addition to the full conference if they so wish. Of course, I went to the PronSIG pre-conference event, and some of the interviewees I speak to in these mini interviews presented at this PronSIG pre-conference event. The interviews were conducted in different areas at the conference, so you will hear some background noise and it will create a bit of atmosphere from the conference. But of course, you can consider watching the videos of the interviews on our YouTube channel this time. But of course, we don't want to make the experience any less great for our audio-only listeners, so you can still just listen to the audio-only and have the full experience. Okay, we hope you enjoyed this episode. Our first guest is Jason Levine. Jason is originally from the USA, and he's now based in Paris. He's widely known online as the Fluency MC for his videos in which he uses rhythm and rap to make language memorable for his students. And he's even performed his irregular verb rap on France's Got Talent. His YouTube channel has 125,000 subscribers. I chatted to Jason about his presentation, which he gave as part of the PronSIG pre-conference event, Lifelong Voices, Teaching Pronunciation from Childhood to Seniorhood. Here's Jason. Great. So Jason, you are known as the Fluency MC, and you've just given a talk called From Cringe to Confidence, and you gave some techniques how you use for pronunciation with your teenagers in the classroom. But I want to ask you first, as the Fluency MC, how do you bring rhythm and music into the classroom to help them with their pronunciation?
Well, I do usually, because my students know that I make raps and I'm out there doing, because the main thing I do with music is something that students can do outside of class. So it's not really like, I'm the rapping teacher and we're teaching in class. So what I'll do is, for example, if they're struggling with, the E sound like beach and the other one, I have a song to practice that. So what I'll do is kind of be like, make a joke about, usually the beach thing or whatever. And, is it hard to hear the difference? But then instead of talking about like minimal pairs and let's just, you need to know how to hear the difference, just go right to the song, but not do the whole song. And this is important for other teachers because it's the same reason for me. We don't have time to do a lot of songs in class, plus it's the repetition of the song. So if it's about how many times are they going to do it, which is not going to work if I see them once a week.
So you give them the song and then they can practice it at home? Well,
I usually put it on Teams or put it on Google, somewhere for them later, but just show it to them. We do a little bit together so they see how it works. But usually like or they just see me or I perform it. They love, and there's no pressure on them. But then that's a way for them to, and this could be a teacher showing my video. They don't have to be the ones who do it. I mean, that's not the point. So they use me, but then they could do it if they want as a chant form, like it, eat, right? And then, if you like this, the best way to improve this is just, you know, check out the song at home or...
It must be so cool for them to see you embodying the songs, and I'm sure that that then means that they're thinking about your delivery of it when they're at home practicing it on their own. And do you notice that they come back to class and that they've worked on it, or they say, teacher, you know?
I mean, I feel like I'm really lucky in that way. It's very gratifying, but I also know teachers all over the world, I've been doing this for a long time, that have, you know, the students have never seen me, but the teacher brings in the videos, and they get to know me. Sometimes, you know, I'll say hi on Zoom to them, or make a recording, like, oh yeah, we practiced with your songs. So, I mean, I definitely don't need to be there. I think it makes it better for my students that semester who have me. But, you know, it's like anything. If you see an actor perform enough times, you don't have to meet them to feel a connection. And then I'm always chatting with students on Instagram and TikTok. So,
cool. And you're based in Paris. So you talked about how your students, they're secondary students in school.
At a university called Paul Léonard de Vinci. In Paris,
so for older teens and young.
Yeah, I do a lot of first-year students, so they're 18, 19.
And how important, it's quite interesting for me with what I know about French, as you mentioned in the talk, that they tend to stress syllables or not stress them so much, and so the syllables are kind of, you know, more or less even. So, you know, how is your focus more on sentence stress rather than maybe word stress? So you did a lot with sentence stress in the talk.
We do both. I mean, the thing is, one thing is I usually start off when I want to show them how it all works. And you can do this with any short sentence. So for example, you know, I write students take tests, and I ask them, you know, how many words? 3. How many syllables? 4. But then, it's 4, so what's the rhythm? Is it students take tests? And most of them, they've heard enough English that said, that sounds strange. I think it's more students take tests. So that's the word stress. Stress in the word, right? But the sentence stress is what? Students take tests. It's 3. That's the rhythm. But then when you add, if you call them grammar words or function words, you start doing the students take the tests, all the way down to, you know, future perfect progressive. The students have been taking the test. The rhythm doesn't change. It's exactly the same. So to a French person, that blows their mind. I mean, to a native speaker of English, also, I never thought about that. That's why we can say, like, you know, in French, you can't say happy birthday to Mike, my friend who I just met at the IATEFL, whose birthday is it today. He's a great guy. That's English. A French person like looks at you like, how did you put all of those words in the middle? And I talk a lot about music too, like how you know you can have you know 1, 2, 3, 4, or 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So looking at it like notes, and they get into that.
Do you find that's quite memorable for them as well? So once they
start noticing, I mean, the whole. I mean, I think there's raising awareness and then putting it into practice, right? And where I used to struggle, and I see a lot of teachers struggling, is if you raise awareness, but it's too like, you know, meta-linguistic like stuff. It's like, oh, that's interesting how it works, but it doesn't sink in. So it's the practice. You know, you raise awareness of it, but if you do enough practice, then they start noticing it when they speak and correcting themselves. And then the best thing ever is where I mentioned the word temperature. So let's just use that as when they might say to somebody, you know, could you, the room is hot, can you change the temperature? What? Instead of saying temperature again and again, finding the stress, or like, you know, can I use that computer, right? What? They usually we just repeat the word until they're but then they'll be like, okay, it's the stress. Computer.
And tell me about the use of dictation in the classroom, because a lot of teachers, maybe they think, no, this is too old school, we shouldn't use this with our students. How did you get into it? You obviously do it a lot. You see a lot of value in it for your students.
I would agree. It's funny. It's a CELTA thing, I think. Anybody who's done CELTA, I did it, you know, 20 years, 30 years ago. I don't know, 40, 50. But you learn right away that dictation is not the traditional. So I totally get it if someone's like, dictation is boring, and, you know, because, you know, the old-fashioned way of doing it. But there's a reason why in France, dicté, like, it's this thing they've done because it's repetition. You have to do it again. I need to hear it again. It's all about, you know, reasons to repeat something. But if you do it in a dull way, obviously that's not going to work. But if you if you gamify it, I mean, think about a gap fill. Lyrics is dictation. If they're at home and their assignment is it's a cool homework assignment, try to listen and put in the words. They're doing dictation. They're not there doing it. It's the song. Dictation can be a scene from a movie. And dictation is just hearing something and writing it down and seeing the sound spelling relationships, seeing where you might be hard to hear because of rhythm.
Maybe transcription's a better word for it for our students.
Maybe you see. It's actually a good idea to get rid of that word because people try to make it more like fun dictation or dictation madness or something like just. But maybe enough transcription. Let's do it. But my students, they grow up doing dictation's a very French thing. Dictating poetry and stuff. So when they see that you're doing it in a fun way, they totally get into it because they're used to do it and they know the value of it. They can remember poems from dictation and things like that from elementary school. So
just got one last question for you. I'd love to ask you. I'd love to ask you about the homework tasks that you set, and particularly the voice recording stuff. So you get students to listen without reading, and then they read along to a particular text, and then you lead them towards recording their own voice so they can practice reading
receptive
aloud.
to production.
So tell me about that.
Well, I've just learned over the years, especially that immersive reading, my favorite. I didn't know there was a scary.
I'll edit that bit out.
We're doing a podcast. Hello. I didn't know there was a name for it, reading while you listen, so whether it was lyrics is the classic one, because, it's natural to look at lyrics while you listen. Some things are not, you wouldn't necessarily, I'm going to listen to this magazine article and read it, unless I have some kind of impairment, I would do that. You know what I mean? Subtitles is something we just take for granted, but this is all called immersive reading in linguistics. I thought immersive reading was, cuddling up to the fire with a book and immersing you, but immersive reading is reading and listening at the same time. And so, once I figured out how, if somebody asked me what's the best way to improve English and become fluent, it's immersive, it's being able to see and hear. So your brain is connecting what the words look like, what they sound like. So people, who do a lot of listening can get very fluent, but their accuracy is when they're writing is because they don't hear those little reduced grammar words. So you sort of have everything when you do it this way. So I like to lead them from listening with nothing, and then what's the main idea? We didn't get into that today, but comprehension questions. If somebody asks you what's the story about, the most basic, it's about a boy or a problem or this kind of thing, and then eventually getting more of it. And then when the students recording, I think most teachers who've done this know how incredible it is. If the students record themselves and then compare to the original input, and especially if it's something like a song or an actor, a funny story, right? Not just obviously some sentences that are just dictated or something, using cool stuff.
Great. Might leave it there. Thanks very much, Jason. It was so good to talk to you. Really appreciate the time now. And go and enjoy your lunchtime. And
thank you. Same to you.
Take care.
Okay.
Thanks. Okay, next up, and this is my best attempt at pronouncing her Polish name, Małgorzata Baran-Wuczarz. From now on, I'm going to call her Gosia. Gosia holds a PhD in linguistics and is a lecturer and researcher at the University of Wrocław in Poland. She also presented at the pre-conference event on the topic of teaching English across the ages, but in her talk she focused on older learners. Her presentation focused on some classroom research which she did with her older learners called Foreign Language Pronunciation Learning in Late Adulthood, Insights from Research, Teachers and Learners. Hi Gosia, how are you doing?
Hi, fine, and how are you?
That's good, not bad. It's really nice to sit down with you. Thanks for agreeing to do this for a couple of minutes.
Welcome.
So you had this talk yesterday where you presented some data that you'd collected from a group of students that you'd worked with, a group of older learners. And I found it super fascinating because teachers often have older students in the classroom and maybe they ask themselves, what adjustments do I need to make? What should I change about my instruction to make it really, really friendly or learner-friendly for the older learners? So what was the aim of the study?
Well, first of all, it was fun. It was a wonderful adventure, and you're all welcome to try to work with older adults. Don't be scared, don't be afraid. I wanted to find out if indeed it is too difficult for older adults, so people who are in their 60s, 70s, 80s, and older people, if they really find it that difficult to follow some of the phonological rules, if they can really improve after a few classes, because I had just a few classes with them. Whether there are any side effects, which actually I was not expecting to observe, but I did observe. So yeah, it turned out that it was
quite effective.
It was just an action research, but it was really. It brought some very interesting. We can see some nice conclusions. We can draw some nice conclusions from the study. So yeah.
What was the length of time again? Was it 4 weeks?
It was just 4 classes that I had with them. Four meetings. 1 hour meetings, hour and a half.
How many learners in total?
There were 17 learners altogether.
In the ages of?
From 60 to 80-ish.
Yeah. Could you give an example of one pronunciation item that you worked on with the students?
Okay, so we focused on those aspects that, well, we think are the most important for intelligibility. So we focused on long and short E. Devoicing of final obstruents. This is our problem that we have, we Poles, so we focus on that.
Long and short E, so like ship and sheep, that
ship
kind
and
of
sheep,
thing, yeah.
Yes, mat, mad.
Yeah, okay, for the final consonant.
The suffixes in the simple past, regular verbs, so wanted, asked, happened, and prominence, right? Weak forms, we talked about the schwa, which is so present everywhere in English. It's the most important sound, so yeah.
So you said that the students were really, really happy to receive the training and that they felt so motivated that you
and at the same
explain it to them.
So disappointed that they got to know about all that now.
So later in their lives,
they could have, found out about it much, much earlier. And it wasn't difficult for them at all.
Right.
I think the important thing is that we discussed these things in simple terms in their first language, and they received, everything was on a presentation that they also received.
And
they could look at it at home. Yes, they could.
It was in Polish too, wasn't it?
It was in Polish, of course. All the explicit information about the rules governing, the to, id suffixes. This was given. They discovered the rule themselves. We just summed it up together.
Yeah.
But this is maybe important, that these were highly educated people, so they were retired academics, they were psychologists, engineers, so maybe that wouldn't work that well with other students, but I think it's worth trying with any learner. It's not that complicated as we think.
According to the data that you showed us, there was a lot of improvement, mostly across the board as well.
Yes.
Noticeable improvement in the short period.
You could also hear the samples, so it wasn't just
right.
And they felt also more confident. Okay, so the self-assessment also went hand in hand with objective data. So really their perception changed and their production changed of the long E, short E, of all the aspects that we practice really. And also it turned out that they had this feeling of satisfaction, of self-improvement, realization. They finally fulfilled their dreams. They always wanted to find out more about, that aspect, because nobody has ever told them about that. So, and they want to go on. They want to keep going. It was just a starting point, and they're waiting for more. So I guess even their well-being, it's not just that during the class they had fun, and that went on for the rest of the day. They really felt like, excited and so happy to find out these new things. But this perseverance and this realization kind of feeling that
Sounds like it was really
I'm
motivating
growing,
for them and gave them more self-esteem.
Although they're older adults, they can still find out something new. They still do something challenging.
There's going to be a talk starting soon. I know you want to run off to another talk, but I have a last question for you. What advice would you give to other teachers who are working with older learners?
Well, don't be afraid. I mean, try. Sometimes the materials that you're using with other learners might be just working with older adults. Just make the instructions very.
As well. Okay.
Just make the instructions simple. Maybe fewer examples. I also invented some very easy interactive online games, which are very easy to design. The word wall.
And you stress that giving them the information in advance so they can read about the pronunciation features at home in their own time in Polish.
And please remember about individual differences, because this is a very heterogeneous group. So be very sensitive to how different the learners are. You can use different resources, rubber bands. You name it. But some may like it more than the others. So that's normal, right?
Great.
Yeah.
Gosh, thank you so much for taking a few minutes to chat to me.
Thank you.
Good luck with it.
Good luck. All the best.
Our next guest was Frank Bardol, who was an English teacher who had travelled all the way from his home in Martinique, the Caribbean, where he's based. He was the winner of the PronSIG Classroom Action Research Scholarship for this year. Frank supports teachers with tools and methodologies for teaching English pronunciation and communication skills, as well as the development of CLIL curricula in primary schools. He promotes the integration of English varieties in the Caribbean area into lessons to enhance intercultural competence of the Caribbean community, or CARICOM. He collaborates with educational stakeholders to promote trilingual education as well. In this interview, I chat to him about his presentation entitled Fostering Prosodic Competence Through Digital Escape Games, a Caribbean EFL action research study. I hope you enjoyed the chat. Hi there, Frank. Thank you for taking a few minutes to have a chat to me now. Congratulations on your talk at IATEFL for the PronSIG community. So you talked about teaching prosodic features in pronunciation in your context, which is in Martinique.
Yeah.
I'm really interested to know what was your inspiration, your motivation for doing this action research?
Okay, so actually Martinique now is part of the Caribbean community called CARICOM, meaning that in the near future our students will have to communicate in this Caribbean archipelago where there are more than 18 million people speaking English and with different varieties, different from the British English or American English. I wanted them to be aware of these different varieties. Okay, there is Barbadian English, St. Lucian, Trinidad and Tobago, and it's also a way to open their mind and open them to the variety of English in these words, and to better communicate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I love the idea of fostering the identity of Caribbean English as well, and empowering students to feel proud about that variety of English.
Yes, also being Caribbean, sharing the same culture, saying the same history. So I think it's very important to be proud of ourselves.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Okay. So what were some of the key things that you discovered in the action research that you did?
Yeah, actually, the students did like this action, this research, this experimentation, because they
liked it.
Definitely,
okay.
And they were aware of the link between French Creole and this English varieties.
Right.
That make it easier for them to acquire intonation, acquire the prosody of English.
Wow, okay.
And I think that in the near future, I'd like to integrate much more varieties, because I focus on the accent of Trinidad and Tobago. Okay, an island not too far from Martinique. Okay, and also to devise some pedagogical tools,
strategies and tools to support those students.
Text and the recording to help me integrate much more English varieties
from that area, that region.
Definitely.
I wanted to ask you as well, actually, what challenges do teachers in your region face who are teaching English? I guess they don't have as many resources available. A lot of the resources use British English or American English.
Definitely, and that is a real challenge.
Yeah.
And I try my best, my hardest to change this mentality. I think that even teachers here in Martinique, actually, they are afraid because they're not confident with these different varieties. We have to master them, so to speak,
sure.
before being able to teach them.
Yeah.
So it's very hard, but I find some colleague, for example, Joanne Ferreira from Trinidad and Tobago, who start to help me to integrate these varieties. And, she's a linguist, and she's helping me to integrate these varieties. Great. And I try to choose the components that I can teach to students, and also different elements. But I have a lot of work to do.
Absolutely,
and I hope to have much more teachers and researchers helping me in this goal.
I love that you're so passionate about this, that you really want to build this up and make it more prominent for teachers who are teaching English in that area to support them in this way. I will just add one extra thing. I thought it was amazing that you created an escape game for your students to raise their awareness of different prosodic features with different dialects. Oh my God, it must have taken a long time, but it looked like it must have been so much fun, and the students were really, really engaged when listening to the recordings in the escape game. So congratulations for such an ambitious project as well.
Thank you. All right.
Well, thanks very much once again for having this chat with me. It's really nice. It was a pleasure to see you present, and thanks for your time now for the chat.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
The next guests I talked to are Barbara Müller-Doszkalova and Kristina Czernikova-Porsova, who are both teachers and teacher trainers based in the Czech Republic in Prague. Together, they did a presentation called Heads, Hands and Hearts, Active Pronunciation for the Primary Classroom, which was also a part of the pre-conference event for teaching across the ages. The talk stood out to me because even though I don't work with children myself, I found a lot of the tasks could easily be used in adult contexts, even though they were designed for children. First, I talked to Barbara, who has over 20 years teaching English through drama, which informs her training of primary teachers in her teacher training context. And we talk about a specific activity which stood out to me from the presentation. All right, here I am sitting down with, wait, let me get this right, Barbara Müller-Doszkalova. Mm-hmm. So you're based in the Czech Republic, and
yes.
You're working with children a lot at the moment, and you presented a talk today at the PronSIG pre-conference event. It was a very, very engaging talk with all the students moving, or all of the participants moving around in the room like your students.
You. Yeah.
What are the age children that you work with?
Well, actually, I don't teach young learners at the moment.
Oh, okay.
I teach university students who are going to teach young learners.
Oh, I see.
Yeah,
okay.
but I have taught young learners for many years.
Okay,
but not at the moment.
Okay.
Not, yeah.
And you're interested in drama, so this influences your teaching?
I have always, since the very beginning of my teaching career, I have always needed emotion in the English classroom. Like I get bored if there is no emotion. So I was always looking for ways to make people involved, to create some dramatic tension, to create stories where the children or adults or teenagers, whoever is there, enters a situation and has to act in that situation in a role. Yeah.
Okay.
That's just fun.
And there was a lot of movement. That was a key part of it. And you said that children or young learners need to be moving around the room. And how do you find that can help their language, their acquisition of language?
Well, first of all, it's when they move, they get to stay energized, I would say, stay motivated, because one of the principles of teaching young learners is to involve a lot of movement, because they can tire from sitting more easily sometimes than from moving. And another part of it is that we should try to involve all senses, obviously, which is the same with adult learners, I suppose. But with young learners, I think it's really, really important to involve as many senses at once as possible.
So 2 activities that you demonstrated with the participants I really, really liked. So I'd like you to describe the activities. It was raising awareness of word stress, and one of them was this high five activity. How does that one work?
Yeah, that's actually not my activity.
That's okay.
I forgot to say that. I was inspired by a colleague of mine. But
everything that we do is stolen from other teachers. That's fine. But you delivered it with passion and engaged everybody. So
thank you. Yeah. So you have words with difficult words written on those. I mean, you have cards with words where the stress is on the second or third syllable. For Czech learners, the stress is in Czech. The stress is always on the first syllable, so it's difficult if the stress is placed somewhere else. So we have these cards, and first we practice how to use the stress correctly, and then when it's a little bit clearer to all the students, they mingle, they meet, they form pairs. And so I have my card, I read my word, for example, hotel. And then I can, for example, stamp my foot, hotel, and then we do high five, hotel. Yeah, and then you'd say your word, for example, unbelievable.
Unbelievable.
Unbelievable. And then we exchange the cards, and we go on. So it's just to embody the stress through this collaboration. It feels good. It feels good. Yeah.
And you had a similar activity with the balloon as well. What about that one?
It's very similar. That's where you have a blow-up balloon, and you simply tap the balloon or hit the balloon on the stress syllable. So we can just bounce the balloon in the circle, and maybe we can just have one word that is problematic, like, for example, event. Yeah, a lot of Czech people, they will say event or something like this. So we go event, and then we just hit the balloon on that correct syllable, so it will be like event, 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 like, and try to keep it in the air. And then we can do this in pairs with a list of words that we want to practice. We can even do it with sentences. Like it could be, for example, what we did in the workshop. You're amazing. You're amazing. You're amazing. You're amazing. You're amazing. Yeah? And then we can also play it in such a way that we form a circle, and everybody has a word, a different word, and we know which words are in the circle. Maybe we don't remember all of them, but we know some. We remember some of them. And then one person is in the middle of the circle and hits the balloon, but does not use their word, which is on their card, but somebody else's word.
Right.
And that person has to listen, and when they hear their word, they have to come and hit the ball, and they have to say somebody else's word. And
so they have to be paying attention.
Yeah, and the goal is to keep the ball in the air as long as possible.
The balloon in the air, yeah.
The balloon in the air until everybody has had a turn, which is difficult. It's better to start with a small group, like 5 children or something like this. If we have big groups, it's very difficult.
Do you know what I love about these kinds of activities? They're for children, but they would work so well with adults.
I've done them with adults. I've done. But I first, like this one, it came up to me somehow. I don't know. I can't remember how, but I think that I invented it, but who knows?
Who knows?
I'm sure somebody else also. But this was
maybe or inspired by. Yeah.
But this was with young learners for sure, because I was looking for ways to make it playful and use a little bit of their energy, and the boys in the class who were really like into sports, and I wanted to use that energy.
Great. Yeah. Well, thank you very much for sitting down with me now, Barbara. It's been a pleasure to talk to you.
Thank you very much. Nice talking to you.
And enjoy the rest of the conference.
Thank you. Thank you.
And now we have Kristina Chernikova-Poisova. Kristina teaches phonetics and phonology in various teacher training courses in Prague and is the co-editor of the PronSIG journal Speak Out. Kristina was busy at the conference, and in addition to her presentation with Barbara, she presented alongside Gemma Archer and Tarek Uzun on a different day. The trio had spent time digitizing, cataloging, and analyzing the archives of the PronSIG biannual journal Speak Out, and in their session, they presented interesting pronunciation activities from all 5 decades of the journal's history. Here I talked to Kristina about one of those activities. Okay, here I am with Kristina, and Kristina's just done a presentation, and she introduced an activity in the presentation, which was a real good one. It's made an impression on me, so I'd just like you, firstly, could you introduce yourself a little bit, Kristina, and then tell us about this activity that you just demonstrated.
Okay, so hi everyone, hi Mike, I'm Kristina Chernikova-Poisova, I'm based in Prague, and I work at the Faculty of Education, and today together with Gemma Archer and Tarek Uzun, with the former and the current editors and co-editors of Speak Out, we presented a number of activities that we basically discovered when going through old issues of Speak Out. And this was a brilliant activity, a warm-up activity that I call rhyming tennis. And basically it's that the teacher serves a ball, and the ball is a word. There are 2 teams, and once this word is served, team 1 needs to create a word that rhymes with the original word. So let's say, for example, moon.
Should we play the game?
Okay, fine.
Yeah?
Okay, fine. So let's, do you want to think of a word?
You start off.
Okay, so I will start with the word, let's say, cry.
Cry. Sky.
My.
Time. Does that rhyme?
And it does not.
It doesn't rhyme. Why doesn't it rhyme?
Because it ends with a consonant, ma,
okay.
And the original word was just ending with a vowel.
Okay.
But that's perfectly okay, because we've got now time to do another a game, and the teacher, if there is either the students run out of ideas, or if there is a word that does not rhyme with the originally served word, the teacher has a number of words ready, and the game starts over with another word. For example, blue.
Shoe.
Boo.
Boo. Clue.
Excellent. shoe, we've done that.
We've done shoe, exactly.
Okay, we've done shoe,
yeah.
and that's it. And the teacher, serves another word, and it
so
can be done.
So the class is divided up into 2 groups, is that right?
Exactly. It's either it can be done in 2 groups or smaller groups, or it can be done in pairs. You know, and what we really appreciate it's the game-like element. It's the thinking in the moment. Element that we really like. Exploring even the vocabulary. And,
you mentioned as well you could alter it and use some variations on the activity too, right?
Yeah, true. Immediately I was thinking that the teams need to produce words containing specific sound. For example, the sh sound, or the b sound.
Official.
Exactly.
Like that.
In all positions, or it can be like sh in the initial position, sh in the middle position, word stresses, and other features. It's a very nice warm-up activity, and it can be used during the lesson when you've got like 1 minute left. So let's play the rhyming tennis.
Yeah, sure. I imagine it'd be great, particularly for students who don't realize that the same vowel sound can be spelt in different ways as well.
Okay,
right?
Perfect. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Awesome.
So the words, you may need to revise some words or vocabulary. So those are the words that the teacher picks.
Awesome.
We could probably continue brainstorming other ideas.
Awesome. Thanks very much, Christina. It's great to chat to you.
Okay, thank you.
Enjoy the rest of your day.
Okay, thank you. Bye.
My next guest is Megan Gaskell. And this interview actually came about from a conversation I had with her, in which she told me she was doing something interesting with her students, which caught my attention. Megan is an ESOL teacher based in England, and she's a freelance writer, and she teaches for exams such as the FCE, CAE, and IELTS. Here we talk about how she's been using graded readers and reading aloud in the classroom. I hope you enjoy the chat. Great. Hi Megan, how you doing?
Very well, Mike. How are you?
That's good, not bad.
Yeah.
So I'm chatting to you because we just had a really interesting conversation earlier about graded readers and reading aloud.
Yes.
So I'm a fan of reading aloud, and you're a fan of reading aloud.
Absolutely.
And I'd like to know, what are you doing with graded readers, and how are you finding reading aloud is being helpful for your learners?
Well, I was given an opportunity. So first of all, I teach ESOL, which is basically teaching English to immigrants and refugees. Many of my students have been here for a while, and I was given an opportunity to teach an intensive reading course. So we used The Woman in White, and we had 36 hours of uninterrupted reading time.
So the what was it? The name of the book was it?
The Woman in White. By Wilkie Collins.
Okay.
And I was a little bit wary about how we were going to read the book.
Okay.
Because I remember previous teacher training, do not get your students to read aloud. But I think it's very useful, and I have been to many of the PronSIG events, and reading aloud is very important.
Yeah.
So I asked my students and how they felt about reading out loud. And they said, absolutely, this is something we want to do.
Wow, okay.
It's important.
Yeah. What sort of countries or first languages did the students have?
So it was a mixture. So I had quite a few from Ukraine, Hong Kong, Iran, Pakistan, Poland, Hungary, and Nepal.
Okay.
Some were stronger readers than others. But it didn't matter, and it was really important. So the book itself was kind of the course.
And you told me you weren't using a course book, you were just basing it around the graded reader, is that right?
Yeah, so ESOL, we don't have a course book, and we don't have any material, so it's what the teacher brings to the class. And this was something that I've wanted to do for a long time, thanks to IATEFL, getting me thinking about graded readers and intensive and extensive reading. And with the graded reader, because it was sort of the course, reading it together was kind of essential, because we were discovering the story together. So each class, we would read 1 or 2 chapters out loud. I would section parts of the story, and the students would take turns.
Okay.
And yes, some students were stronger readers than others. Some had a kind of reading background in their own languages. Some didn't. but it was really valuable, and it gave them a chance to, I think you talked about speaking, but without having to worry about thinking about what to say.
Yeah, so they're not building the sentences themselves, having to work with grammar and vocabulary.
Yeah, it's all there.
Okay.
And it gave us an opportunity to look at pronunciation, so looking at things like syllable stress, word stress, intonation, and also to get the meaning of the story, which is what you said in your talk about the, where's the emphasis? Why is the emphasis here? So it was another way to sort of ensure that they were really getting to grips with the story.
So some people might say that sight reading is an issue because students are concentrating too much on the pronunciation and not so much on the meaning. So how did you manage that in the classes?
So I didn't really. I mean, they each had a copy of the book, and they could take them home. I mean, I did say, please don't read the whole book in one go, because just spoiler alert. But usually we just sight read.
Yeah. And I guess you can reactively, you can support the students if they read a sentence. You go, that was great. You could try and read it like this, and then you maybe give them an opportunity to read again with some feedback for them.
That's exactly.
And the second time
did.
they're not sight reading in that sense. So because then you can say, oh, it was sort of see how they're not maybe processing the meaning, and you were reacting to that as the teacher then as well, right?
Yeah. So we, I said, look, don't, if you don't know how to pronounce a word, if you're stuck, don't worry, we'll figure it out together.
Yeah, fantastic.
And we did. And I noticed that as the book progressed, their reading got better.
Amazing.
And the pronunciation got better. And they were the ones that were sort of just reading in a kind of monotone way. They started to put a little bit of intonation as they got to know the characters in the story. So that was really rewarding.
Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah.
All right. So the students seemed to really get a lot out of it, and they were really happy with it at the end. You told me when we spoke before that they really wanted to read aloud. You had some hesitation as to whether or not that was appropriate, but the feedback from the students was, no, we want to do this.
Yeah, it was essential. And now, so I believe in reading out loud. I think it's really important. But it was the background noise of previous teacher training and books of never do this, which I disagree with.
Yeah, and your students came from all different countries as well, so they would have different educational cultures that they have been exposed to, and this whole mantra, let's say, of don't make your students read aloud, maybe from the CLT era, is probably more an English-specific thing. And our students come from different cultures. So they obviously bring different expectations into the classroom.
Definitely, and there was definitely an expectation. We're doing a graded reader. Of course we're going to read the book out loud. So that was really, really valuable, and they said to me how valuable it was, because many of them outside of the classroom, they don't really get a chance. And I know it's not natural speaking, but in the course we did a lot of natural speaking. But it just gave them a chance to say words and sentences in English.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's how I see it too. It's not in place of free speaking; it supports free speaking. Right. Yeah. Well, it's been so nice to talk to you. Thanks very much, Megan.
Thank you very much.
And enjoy the rest of the conference.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you. All the best.
Bye.
Our next guest will be Marisol Hernandez. Marisol has been a professor of English, teaching phonetics and phonology in higher education and continued professional development context for over 16 years, and she's based in Argentina. Just recently, she released a book called English Pronunciation Through Acting Exercises and Techniques, which draws upon her experience in acting. Marisol delivered a presentation whose title caught my eye as something that I really never would have considered, so I had to go and check it out. The talk was called Constructing English Voices, Identity, Performance and TikTok Voice in EFL Classrooms. In her talk, she discussed pronunciation features in TikTok videos, pointing out that TikTok accounts for a lot of what our students might be consuming in terms of English input. Here is that chat. Great, and here I am with Marisol, and it's the last day of the conference, so we're a little bit sleepy now. But we just saw Adrian Underhill, didn't we? But I've been waiting a couple of days to chat to you about your talk on the first day, which was quite something interesting, a perspective on pronunciation teaching that I've never thought about before. You talked about TikTok videos and the style of voices that our learners are exposed to. And yeah, maybe you can tell us a little bit more. What motivated you to look into the speech features of influencers in videos like TikTok?
Well, actually, I started thanks to my MA dissertation in social linguistics, so I started looking into the way the people might express themselves online nowadays and the way they would project their online persona. So then I started thinking about the teaching implications. So I would just survey students and teachers, and I would ask them, you know, how much exposure they've got to those short videos, basically on TikTok, but also on Instagram and YouTube Shorts. And actually most people would agree on the fact that they spend a lot of time watching those videos in English. So at the end of the day, I thought, okay, it would be interesting to see how that type of speech might have a direct impact on the way students would like to project their online persona and also their offline one. So actually started looking into the social phonetic phenomena on those videos.
Yeah, so you're suggesting that a lot of the English input that these students are getting is coming from these videos. So what are some of the features or some of the characteristics of these videos that you discovered that our learners are seeing and are getting exposure to?
Well, actually the two features that I've studied are creaky voice or vocal fry, which is basically the slow vibration of the vocal folds that would create this effect.
Like this kind of thing.
Exactly.
Could you give a sentence example?
So thank you for having me today.
Right, okay.
Right. And if not, they would constantly resort to uptalk, which of course is not a new phenomenon, but that would apparently help with viewer retention. So they would just continue talking like this, so that would prevent people from skipping past videos.
Okay, so like an upward intonation
at the end of a sentence. And that seems on this platform to, as I've just said, to maximize viewer retention. So basically I've studied those features, plus the affordances of a platform that would help these TikTok content creators, you know, exploit their selves online.
And how is it useful, in your view, to raise students' awareness of these features, so uptalk and creaky voice?
Well, basically so that they can have real agency, you know, and that they can eventually choose what they are doing. Actually, they're not just imitating what some other people might do, but at the end of the day, they can actually choose which features they can produce and in which contexts as well. So it's not that some features are okay in one context and might not be embraced in others, but at least that they do know what they're doing.
Yeah, okay. I guess the more they know, the better decisions they can make about what they'd like to try and incorporate into their own speech.
Indeed.
Yeah, fantastic. Super fascinating. Thanks very much, Marisol.
Thank you.
Great
Thank you so much for having me.
Very welcome. Thanks very much. The next guest is Tatiana Lesik, or Tanya, from Kyiv in Ukraine. And Tanya brings her background in banking and translation to her teaching, in business English and communication training. She specializes in British pronunciation teaching and is the current media coordinator of the PronSIG IATEFL special interest group. Here I chat to her about her talk, Two to Tango, Pronunciation as Business English's Perfect Partner. And my apologies to our listeners and to Tanya, as you will hear some audio glitching at the beginning of the interview. This lasts for about 20 seconds. Here's Tanya. Hi, Tanya.
Hi.
So nice to talk to you today.
Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. So I just wanted to ask you about your context a little bit. You love pronunciation and students come to you for that specially. So what kind of students are you working with in your work?
I teach in two niches. One is business English and another one is pronunciation, the love of my life. So usually I get students who are related to business. They are either bankers, business people, office workers, or entrepreneurs or business owners.
Okay.
And usually they come at higher levels of understanding and using English, so they need to brush up on some things to get their voice more confident.
Right.
So that I could help them not only brush up on certain individual sounds, but also bring their confidence levels up, and so that their voice sounds more professional, up to their real level of proficiency and expertise in their mother tongue, because you know we're all such smart people in our mother tongue, but that doesn't always show when you're using another language.
So you help them enable, or you help them reach more confidence, get more confidence through working closely with their accent.
Yes, and it's not necessarily erasing their accent. It's about intelligibility, of course, the clarity of their speech, and if they want to get rid of some of the features of their own accent, that's that's something we're working on. But also I help work with intonation, the pausing, working with thought groups so that they know how to emphasize certain word that brings the meaning, the actual meaning of whatever they want to deliver,
Okay. Well, I imagine that's really, really important to them in their context as well, that they're getting the message across, doing that in an empathetic way too.
Yeah, exactly. So I help them prepare for the presentations at international conferences. I help them prepare their pitches so that their message really is delivered, so that they also have the connection with their audience. And that's what my talk was on about. Well, it was named Two to Tango, Pronunciation as Business English's Perfect Partner.
Great. So what sort of tasks or things do the students that you work with have to do in their jobs? What kind of demands do they have?
We quite often do role plays. For example, one of the cases that I had, a student, a top representative of a huge holding company, came over with the request that he needed to be a little bit more fluent and confident while doing live debates on TV in many countries all around the world. So what we did was I brought another partner of his who he was confident in and he could confide in the information. And what we did was we prepared questions and we cross-questioned him initially, but before that I prepared him for answering these questions. We wrote out the possible answers, we worked through intonation and pauses, we worked through the emphasis, which words needed to be emphasized, and what kind of answers he would be giving within this very limited amount of time, because when you're limited at a presentation, or especially during the pitch, you're starting to rush, and you forget about breathing, you forget about pausing, so your speech is then rushed, and people don't really understand what exactly you're delivering. So what is the meaning of what you wanted to say? What was the main message? So we worked this way, and it was a very nice experience. He was bombarded with very difficult questions that are even more difficult to perceive when you're questioned live. So he was kind of prepared for that, and later on it worked really well for him.
Fantastic, that's great to hear. All right, well, thanks very much, Tanya. It's nice to talk to you today.
Thank you so much.
Enjoy the rest of your afternoon.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Our next guest is Ioana Cretu, who is based in Iași in Romania. Ioana is an independent ESP practitioner and OET, or Occupational English Test, preparation partner, with over 20 years of experience in teaching medical and academic English. She holds a PhD in education and has a medical background in applied linguistics, medical translation, and scientific writing. Her work focuses on supporting healthcare professionals to communicate effectively in high-stakes clinical and academic contexts. Ioana delivered a fascinating presentation at the conference called Improving Intonation for Sensitive Professional Communication Through Voice Visualization, in which she demonstrated how she supports her learners by providing a visual representation of their speech. So here I talked to her about that presentation. Ioana, hi. Thanks for agreeing to have a couple of minutes to chat to me. This is fantastic.
I want to talk some more about your talk, and now you want to... Okay.
No, of course we're here to talk about your talk.
Oh.
So was it yesterday? No, the day before yesterday, wasn't it now?
I don't remember. I'm having so much fun.
Yeah, well, you gave a talk that was really, really fascinating, and you don't even consider yourself a pronunciation specialist, but with your ESP context, so you have professionals in different contexts where intonation and tone is really, really important to ensure that the communication is effective, and also to show empathy in certain situations.
Absolutely.
And you've been using some amazing tools to help your students to help your students understand what's going on with intonation. So tell us about the digital tools you've been using there.
If open source and very simple is amazing, then yeah, it's amazing.
No. Well, some way of visualizing this intonation. I was just so fascinated to see, as a musician, I could see the pitch of the speech that your students were using, and you were able to show this visualization to your students, which was amazing.
So I work with healthcare professionals mostly.
Yeah.
And they're very well educated, they're highly educated, very good at interpreting ECGs, interpreting ultrasounds, looking at graphs and things of that nature.
So they need to communicate with patients, right?
And they need to communicate with the patients. And sometimes I get the healthcare professional that struggles to modulate their voice in a way that communicates their intentions.
Right, okay.
And so they come across as robotic or flat or disinterested, and they're actually not.
Yeah.
And I found that it's really, really difficult to approach that from, directly. I thought, what are they good at? Well, they're good at reading ECGs and interpreting ultrasound. So I need to help their ears see so that eyes can speak.
Sure.
And so I used a very, very simple pitch visualizing software, open source, really
Wait a
simple,
second, just
offline.
Pitch visualizing software.
Yeah.
Okay, pitch being.
Do you want me to name it?
Hello.
It's open source.
Oh, yeah, sure. What is it?
It's called Tony.
Tony.
It's brutally simple. It's the simplest I could find because I was looking for the simplest one.
Okay.
Because if I want a busy healthcare professional to be doing homework, they don't need to be learning buttons and options and things.
So it's a real simple tool that the students can use to speak into, and then they get a visualization of their pitch in front of them. And what have been the reactions of your students been when they've seen that?
It's if you start from where they are and you use examples that they resonate with, and they start seeing what their voice is doing relative to what the voices of people that they enjoy listening to are doing. It completely bypasses all the anxieties they get, all this part to cringe. And when we work through the eyes, as in meet me with my pitch, or make it go higher, or what would you like to do now, and let's see it happen, or reading children's stories that start from their patterns and push them into other patterns because of what's happening in the story. I recommend Dr. Zeus.
Okay.
Do you like green eggs and ham?
I don't know that one, but I'll have a look. Okay,
no, I recommend it. And so by doing these things and having them suggest examples, bring recordings with colleagues, with clients if they can, when possible, and analyzing that visually, and trying to emulate that visually, or just looking at what they're actually doing in their real life, in their real context, professional or personal. It kind of goes around all the monsters that you don't want to wake up, and all the fossilization, all the the reflexes. But the thing is, in a single session, it's a wow. You go from zero to hero. You go from flat to not being able to distinguish on the screen who's me. Is it me or is it you?
Wow.
But it's not stable. So they need to keep going, keep doing. And so I get them to send me recordings and tell me, at what minute do you want me to go to hear what? And to tell you what. And so they get the recording. They do role plays with colleagues or with other people. When I say colleagues, it's very loosely defined. And then, as it becomes necessary, we look not only at you could have done better here. No. Here's how, this is perfect. Look at this. This is perfect. You see, you can do it. So it also addresses the...
It helps them, it helps raise their awareness that they're capable of the change, I suppose.
Not only capable, but that they are doing. There's nothing wrong. But it's like that they have. Some people just have a hard time listening to themselves and understanding what's going on through the ear. If they get to see it, it's like an ECG. They get that.
Fantastic. Thanks so much for chatting to me today, Joanna. It's really, really nice. I'm sure that's been really inspiring for a lot of people.
Come to the ESP podcast, and I will interview you.
We'll talk about that later. Thanks very much.
Sure.
Cool.
Bye.
And our second last guest on this episode of the podcast is Erna Paula Beazon Rocha. Erna is originally from Brazil and now works at the University of Sheffield in the UK at the English Language Teaching Centre. She teaches English and works in teacher development there. She's also a PronSIG committee member and resident blogger for PronSIG. As we are coming to the end of the conference, we chatted about her impressions of the conference and her talk, Unlocking Pronunciation Teaching from Cinderella to Classroom Star. Here she is. Okay, so here we are on the last day of the conference, and I'm really happy to be talking to Anna, who's one of the committee members of PronSIG. She also presented herself the other day. Yes. So Anna, what was the topic of your presentation?
The topic was pronunciation teaching, and I talked a little bit about the history of pronunciation teaching and how it influences our practice, our current practice when we teach pronunciation in the classroom.
Fantastic. Yes. And what are sort of some of the key conclusions that you presented in the talk?
Basically, if we think about English language teaching and the history, the evolution of language teaching, pronunciation has always been placed as the Cinderella of teaching, and the idea is that it's not a Cinderella anymore.
What do you mean exactly by Cinderella? So Cinderella kind of rejected a bit.
Being neglected. Like, do you know that family member that no one talks to, everybody ignores?
Yeah, okay.
So that is the idea, because people were afraid of teaching pronunciation or not confident enough to teach pronunciation, and people are judged by their accents and everything that involves pronunciation. So for a long time, even in ELT literature, pronunciation was referred as the Cinderella of English language teaching. And I was inspired by an article written by John Levis for Speak Out, which is a PronSIG biannual journal. And in this article, it's from 2019. The title is Cinderella No More.
Right. Okay.
And he explains how this started, and obviously how pronunciation has taken its place back at the heart of language learning.
Fantastic. Okay, so, and Anna, you're from Brazil and you're working in England teaching pronunciation. Yes. That's a passion of yours. What advice would you give to other non-native English teachers who are interested in pronunciation teaching?
This will sound very cliche, Mike, but believe in yourself. I mean, as teachers, we have to recognize our importance, the quality of our work, and just try, because I know we want to improve, we want to help students, but if we don't believe in ourselves that we can do it, nobody will. So that would be my first tip. The second tip is, it's not necessarily about your pronunciation or your accent, it's about teaching. Pronunciation teaching is about teaching first and foremost. And then obviously as a teacher, you can find resources, you can find PronSIG, we can help you, support you, develop your teaching. But that's it, it's much more about teaching than having, I don't know, perfect kind of pronunciation. That really doesn't exist.
Yeah, that's it. I'm from Australia, but I'm not an expert in American English, American vocabulary as well.
Exactly.
There are always going to be questions that we're not sure about, but, we can guide our students. Okay, what's the last day of the conference today? What's been a key takeaway for you from the conference so far?
I love coming to the conference for the networking, for people, meeting people, talking to people, but I think one of the highlights this year, we've seen more talks on inclusion, neurodivergent students, autistic students. So this is very important because we are all different and we all have our particular needs. And it's really nice to see this idea of inclusion, which might just be an idea, being actually turned into practice. This has been definitely one of the highlights this year.
Fantastic. Great, thanks very much, Anna. It's really nice to talk to you.
Thank you, Mike.
Enjoy the rest of your afternoon.
Thank you so much.
And last but not least, we have Adrian Underhill. Most of our listeners will already be familiar with Adrian, who is the series editor of Macmillan Books for Teachers, the author of Sound Foundations, and he is a past president of IATEFL, And of course, many know his English phoneme chart layout, which has been reproduced in many course books over the years. I managed to catch Adrian on the last day of the conference for a brief chat after he and I had chatted a couple of nights beforehand about the common physicality between playing music and pronunciation. All right, so here I am with Adrian Underhill.
Okay,
big
good.
name in the industry, absolutely. I chatted to you the other day about music, and I think that this is a super interesting connection to pronunciation teaching. What's the biggest thing for you, in your view, that teachers take longest to realize about pronunciation teaching, or something that is super fundamental that a lot of people miss?
I think one thing that's super fundamental for the teachers is actually finding the sounds in their own mouths and knowing their own mouth. Because if they don't know their own mouth, they can't really help the students. And it's not a matter of knowing the knowledge that's in a book about how sounds are made. It's a matter of knowing it physically in their own mouth through experience. If they've got that experience, I think they can help students a lot. Otherwise, it's difficult.
Do you find there are some barriers holding teachers back? I mean, muscle memory here probably plays a role as well. Maybe they're not as persistent training those muscles to get that awareness.
Well, I think if there's too much reliance on cognitive knowledge from linguistics books and descriptions, which people feel compelled to learn, but that's useful, but that is not the thing. It's backup, but that's not the front door. That's going to hold you back unless you really get to know that stuff in a way which is beyond and separate from and different from linguistics.
Yeah, that's right. I guess the complexity of English and different influences from different languages, as well as different accents around the world, make it much more opaque as well for people who are trying to get into it. Maybe they're intimidated by phonetic symbols, by your chart a little bit, perhaps?
People are intimidated by phonetics, but then again, you see, you're only intimidated by phonetic symbols if you have not got the sounds. If you've got the sounds, to learn a name for the sound is not a problem. If you have an experience, to name the experience is not a problem. But if you've got a name with no experience to attach to it, it's very difficult. I mean, you know, you can't learn a bunch of people's names if you haven't met them. But once you've met them, to put a name. So I think there's something of that in it. And I think the other thing that teachers miss out on is a feeling that sounds ought to be really good, but they need to be good enough to make an even more important system operate, which is distributing energy, especially with stress and unstress. And sound, that's where the work really needs to take place, and sounds need to be in support of that.
Do you encourage teachers to do a little bit of research, maybe in their own, not research, but just explore their first language or another language that they speak, perhaps, to reflect on, if they're non-native speakers of English, for example, what's happening in their own language?
Oh yeah, I think that's all very helpful. Yes, of course it is. Because we do our own language automatically and without even thinking about it.
Yeah. And what's been a big takeaway for you from the conference so far?
Oh, I think that, you know, the joy of teaching and the pleasure of you know, being with people and finding out what's going on, and the pleasure of teaching, actually.
Great. Thanks very much, Adrian. I'll have to get you on the podcast for a full episode.
Mike,
that would be fantastic. So appreciate
Thanks,
your time.
Mike.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's it for now. I hope you've enjoyed this episode of the podcast. We wish you the best of luck in your teaching and hope to have you listening again soon. Bye-bye.